Alright, so I've been thinking about where I've come from and like how far I've come in the past few years, and it's just really, really bizarre to think about the fact that in 2007 I needed to get stitches for the first time for self-inflicted wounds. I was hospitalized inpatient 3 different times. The first time was in March. It was like March to April, because I was suicidal, and I kind of I didn't have any definite plans, but yeah, I probably had the means to at least try. And also the fact that I had needed to get stitches twice in the same month for self-inflicted wounds after, I needed to get stitches the first time. That was the first time I had to get stitches, I think ever for anything. And then I was freaked out by that and tried to stop cutting. Managed to make it about 9 days, and I was supposed to go to my school counselor the next day and tell her that I needed help because I was suicidal. I was talking to people online. Actually, I don't know if I'd talk to any of them now, but anyway, I was talking to them, and they're like, oh, well, just go to your school counselor and tell her that you don't feel safe and that you're suicidal. And I was going to do that, and then the night before that morning, not sure exactly, I wound up relapsing, and I needed stitches again, so I wound up telling her that I needed to get stitches, which my mom was totally not happy about, and she was worried and all that stuff. And when I went to the hospital, I think I talked to either social worker or psychiatrist that they had on staff, and I told her that I was feeling suicidal. And because of that, and the fact that I had to get stitches twice within I think it was 9 days. Seriously, really sad. But because of that, she decided that I should be hospitalized. So yeah, I was hospitalized for, I want to say, about 7 days, and then I had to go to day treatment for, I think it was a week or 2, which was really annoying, partially because my high school wasn't very helpful with making sure that I had my work, because it wasn't, I didn't give them prior notice, because I didn't know that that was going to happen. That was an emergency situation. It was a crisis. I didn't have prior warning. If I had had prior warning, I probably would have tried to do something to prevent it. So that really did stress me out, and I didn't like the fact that I was confined and stuck there and had to listen to their rules, and I don't do very well when I feel like I'm trapped. I tend to lash out. I didn't actually get in trouble, so I was relatively well behaved. Didn't try to hurt myself while I was in there. So yeah, and then after that, partially because I was freaked out and didn't want to go back to inpatient or anything like that again, I wound up going 48 days without cutting, which at that point had been the longest I had gone, except it wasn't really for me. It was kind of I felt like that was expected of me, and I was trying to avoid inpatient, pretty much, and avoid disappointing people and letting them down. But I wasn't ready for recovery. I didn't have the tools to recover. And because of that, and because there's stress and grief and aggravation going on in my life, I relapsed, and I went inpatient again for the second time in May of 2007. That time, honestly, I don't think that was really necessary. I think it was kind of like my therapist overreacting and like suggesting that I should be inpatient again. But that's kind of not surprising considering the fact that the first therapist I saw on a regular basis, honestly, did not seem like she was comfortable treating a client or working with a patient who was self-injuring. And like the whole time that I was working with her, it just seemed like she was trying to strong arm me into stopping when I wasn't ready to stop, and she didn't help me try to work out why I was turning to hurting myself to cope, or give me healthier coping skills. Sorry if you can hear bells in the background, I'm not sure, but it's about 1 o'clock, so yeah. But she just did not seem like she was comfortable with it, and like every session, or pretty much every session, she would ask if I had cut like the past however long it had been since I'd seen her. And even if I said like I plead the Fifth, which for those who may not know, the Fifth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, part of it says that you can't be forced to testify against yourself if it's potentially going to be self-incriminating. Like, you have the right to refuse to testify against yourself. But even if I said that, she would take that as a yes, and then would turn around and tell my mom. And because I was, like 15 and 16 while I was seeing her, she apparently thought that was perfectly acceptable, even though all it did was break my mom out and make things between my mom and I more tension-filled and all that, because to this day I still don't really know how much my mom understands about the kinds of things that I've been dealing with. So, you know, I understand her being freaked out and all that, but it's not very helpful to deal with someone who's freaking out and doesn't understand, especially when that someone is your parent. But anyway, where was I going? Oh yeah, the second inpatient stay was, I think, about a week too, and my mom, I think, after the fact, said that she thought that I had just tried to get out, like my goal wasn't necessarily getting better. It was just more so getting out as soon as possible. And that might be kind of true, but at the same time, it's kind of just I didn't really feel like that was necessary. I kind of felt like it was, at first I did think it was necessary, but then I just started to realize there's people overreacting, and it wasn't really necessary. It wasn't that much of a threat to myself at that point. And then everything was, I'm not going to say fine and dandy, but it was a little bit calmer for the next few months. And then December 2007, I had to go inpatient for the third and, knock on wood, final time, because, let me see, I'm trying to remember. I think I might have been suicidal then, but it was definitely, my cutting just totally spiraled out of control. I was cutting a lot and deep, and I actually had to stay in the hospital, a physical hospital, for, I think it was 3 or 4 days, because they had to get my iron levels up, because my hemoglobin was so low that I was severely anemic, and if I kept going, I could have easily died, which is really scary considering the fact that I was trying to cope with life, not end my life. And it's just really, scary to think about it, that I could have easily died. But, so I stayed inpatient again for about a week. And at that point, I'm not sure how far into it, but I got to a point where I just wanted to go home, because I hadn't been home since December 6th, before I left for school that morning. And then I was in the hospital for 3 or 4 days, and then I was inpatient for about a week. So I was just like homesick as all hell at that point, because partially because I wasn't really used to being away from home, and it was not fun. And I pretty much got forced into going to, or blackmailed into going to day treatment for a week, because the psychiatrist I was sitting there said that if I wanted to get out sooner, that I would have to agree to go to day treatment. I was like, are you seriously kidding me? Like, I'm just like, I'm so freaking desperate to get out. And he knew that too. And he's like, oh, well, then you're going to go to day treatment for a week. It was like 4 days, actually, because it was, like, they weren't going to do it on, oh no, wait, it was 3 days. No, I think it was 4 days because of Christmas. Like, they weren't going to do it after that or something. I don't know. I don't remember exactly. But, yeah. So, I got forced into doing that. And after that, I think what made me realize that I wanted to recover was recover for myself and not for other people, was the fact that I came so flipping close to dying when I didn't mean to do that. Yeah, that's kind of a wake-up moment, if there ever is one. And I'm not going to say that since then it's been smooth sailing and everything's been fine and dandy, because if I tried to say that, if I even said that, I would be flat out lying. It has been a pain in the butt. It's been an uphill battle. But looking back, if I hadn't stopped, if I hadn't been fighting like hell to get better, I honestly am not sure if I would be alive today. And I, more likely than not, would not be in college and taking classes and trying to get my degree and better myself and be able to have a good education and get a good job and help out people like myself, because I would probably still be going in and out of the ER, in and out of inpatient, and that's like a really scary thing to think about. That's if I was even still alive. That's if I hadn't inflicted way too much damage for my body to take. And it's just, sorry. It's just really, really, sorry, I had to check to see if my computer was fully charged, so I didn't buy it, which it is, so, yeah, but, sorry, I'm rambling and spacey. I wish I knew, I wish I knew the perfect words to tell someone who's in recovery or who's thinking about recovery, but I don't necessarily think there are perfect words, but I'll try. So, one thing I've learned is that it's not easy. It will be a battle, but I feel like if it wasn't a battle, then it wouldn't be worth as much. Like the fact that I am fighting and working my ass off. Sorry, pardon the language if anyone's offended by that. Sorry, I'm trying not to swear. Honestly, I'm trying not to in my videos, but yeah. I think we've been doing a pretty good job with that, but I digress. you need to realize that recovery is not an event. It is a process. It is a journey. And in that journey, there will be slip-ups. There will be times where you have to really just struggle and fight with every flippin' fiber that you have, everything that you have, and utilize all of your resources and do things that you're not necessarily comfortable with. Like if you're not comfortable asking for help, you're gonna get some practice with that, because we can't recover on our own. It's kind of like, well, it's for like self-injury and other addictions. Usually the act is done in private, but what leads up to it is influenced by those around us and what's going on in our world. So it's going to take other people, it's going to take a support system for us to get better. We can't just, and we shouldn't just expect to be able to do it on our own and just be like able to power through it and just be alright without any support or encouragement or anything. That's kind of just dumb. It's like we're social beings. We need other people. We need support. Plain and simple. Yeah. It's really, like, for me, I think part of why it's been such a struggle is because, like, there are other things going on in my life that haven't really been dealt with properly and are driving up a wall. Like, all of my coexisting issues, like my depression, my anxiety, my OCD, all of that kind of stuff hasn't, like, I still haven't found the right way to cope with that, and that's part of what's been triggering me and making it harder. But I definitely feel like I am stronger because of this. Like, I honestly, probably if someone had told me that there would be a time where I would be less than 2 months away from 4 years since the last time I cut myself, I would probably tell them that they're high. That they're out of, I probably would have told them that they're high and they're out of their mind. And they don't know what the hell they're talking about. But I'm here to tell you that it is possible. And it just takes a lot of work. And you need to be willing to put in the effort. And you need to be persistent. Because it's not going to just be like, you want to recover, you start to recover, boom, bada bing, you're recovered. It is a lifelong process. But I know, at least for me, like I said, I potentially wouldn't even have a life without it, without recovery. So it definitely is worth it. Yeah, if you're not very good at coping with stress or triggers, then, then you need to work on that. That's one really good, important thing to work on, and that's actually something that I kind of need to work on myself some more. Because we're not really taught in our society how to cope with things in an effective way. Like, more so, it's kind of like men are taught to, like, get aggressive and physical, and women are taught more so to just internalize and not really, I don't know, not really show that we're going through a hard time. And then in our society, it's usually not acceptable if you talk about the fact that you're not doing well, that you're struggling, or anything like that. It's kind of just like you're supposed to just be able to deal with it and just kind of pretend it doesn't exist, which isn't realistic. Yeah, pretending something doesn't exist just makes it worse. I know that from personal experience, aka my life. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't know. I just think that you need to be open to recovery for it to work, and you have to want it for yourself. Like I know personally, and from others who are struggling with addictions or struggling with issues, that if you try to do it for someone else, that's not likely to work, because either you get into a fight with that person and then, well, you're like, oh, well, I'm not talking to them, or like, we're through, so it doesn't really matter if I go and hurt myself or something. And that doesn't really, and then you go back to hurting yourself, because it's like, okay, well, my reason for not doing it isn't talking to me or something like that. And it's like, there is drama in relationships, so to do it for someone else, it just doesn't work. It has to be for yourself. It has to be something that you want, that you need. Yeah. And I think that you have to not be afraid to fail or to make mistakes, because, like I said, it is a process. It's not, you just wake up one day and decide that you're going to be recovered and you just magically recovered. It doesn't work like that. It takes work, and there are slip-ups. And if you beat yourself up about the slip-ups, then you're just going to be stuck in a self-defeating pattern. And it's going to be a whole heck of a lot harder to pull yourself up, look at what happened and what you could have done differently to prevent it, and learn from it for next time, and keep going. Because if you think that you're a failure because you messed up, then you're more likely to just be like, well, screw recovery, I don't really care. Like, I already messed up, who cares if I just go to town and do whatever the hell I want. And that just leads to bad things, obviously. I don't know. I think that you need to also figure out what your triggers are, like what kinds of situations or events or feelings or whatever it may be lead you to want to hurt yourself or turn to whatever your addiction is. And because if you don't know what triggers you, then you can't work on finding better ways to cope with it. So that's a really important thing to find out. And actually, if I can find it online, there are what was I going to say? There are impulse logs where you can just like record like your emotions for the day, and like if you were triggered to do anything, and if you actually did anything, and like they're used, and I don't know if they're just used in DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy, but they are used in it, and I think that can be helpful. I've used them before to just try to figure out what kind of situations or emotions will lead you to want to hurt yourself, so that you can find a better way to cope with it. Because honestly, if you don't know, what can you do? You have to know to be able to change the situation. Yeah. I don't know, I think I'm going to stop this because I can't think of anything else, and I'm just rambling at this point. If anyone wants to talk more about recovery or how they're doing or wants advice or support or anything, honestly, I swear I don't bite. I may say that I'll bite, but I honestly don't bite. Really, truly, I don't. So just ask me, either send me a message or leave a comment. Alright. Hopefully I can actually upload this because it's almost 25 minutes. Alright, take care and stay strong, everyone. Later.